Good afternoon. So as you heard, my name is Phyllis. Ngamba Bura, listen to see. This is a cultural practice and knowledge given to me when I was a young child deep in the rainforest. Before I begin, I'd like to recognise this place, Garangwal, these lands, earth, waterways and skies, and continued custodianship of the Ngambari people with their traditional practices and spiritual connections. This tells us these stories, their connection continues. And I stand and I acknowledge the continued ways and connection of the Ngambari people, of the Yugambeh Nation. So I'm thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled to have received an invite to share 30 minutes, a very small picture of what it is that we have achieved at West Moreton Anglican College. This is years in the making. This is a transformational practice. And for some of you, you may never have seen it done in this way before. Because the Dundiri approach is not a program. It's a way in which we move into the space in which we come together. Dundiri is the Yagara word, to come together. So I'm really proud to be able to give our story today and share with you in how we've worked hard to establish new ways and practice. Not just one way, but our way. A together approach, a way in which everyone belongs and feels safe, and we have a very specific pathway into what that looks like and how knowledge is practiced. I want to open with a story. So my world changed one summer when I was a young girl and we were all jumping into the car. So I come from a large family and it was never just one car, it was always a convoy. And when one family moves, obviously every other family in the community moves with them. So a trip to the river on a Sunday summer afternoon is welcome relief. Because if you've ever been in the tropics at summer, it's hot. Now, as the cars pulled up at the river, now this is a place where I have been going ever since I had been born. The river connects us and connects my people to their purpose. As another story is a part of that practice of my teaching that I received was crocodile teaching. Unfortunately, I won't talk about that today, but that's something that if you want to hear more of, catch up with me later. But on a Sunday afternoon, as cars were pulling up and we rolled out and we began our habitual game of tag and screaming loudly, absolutely no respect for the silence of the forest and the animals that were there. I mean, they would have run off in a terrified fright, right? And now to get over us and at least 6 young teenage kids, if we were about age 10, yelling and screaming, you have to have a really powerful voice. And if you ever heard an old Aboriginal auntie's voice sing out, you know exactly what I mean. It has to go to a whole other level of octave. Now, all we heard was, "Hey, you mob, you fellas, get over here. You fellas got to learn that there's something more than taking and it's better to give. So come sit by Auntie and you're going to learn." And that was the end of childhood. I started to receive a traditional teaching practice in a way that contributed to who I am today. I take this teaching and I had built it into the work that I've done at WestMac. This is the basis of my teaching. And this teaching was to take me to the very heart of my small world and deep into an ancient learning. Words whispered in an ancient forest. Listen. Can you see it? My father, Guma, spoke these words to me as he held my hand and was pointing at the forest canopy. Can you see? Listen. I have been listening ever since. Ngamba Bura, listen to see. Indeed, if we don't listen, how can we connect to anything? I listened to my parents. I listened to the country. And most importantly, I listened to God. I was asked a question a few weeks ago from a friend. We were sharing over lunch, and she asked me, "How long have you known God?" I said, "Well, what do you mean?" "Always." "Oh, I only just came to know him in my adult life." And I'm like, I have known him all my life. See, my father, Guma, wasn't just teaching me about a connection to the environment around me, but he was teaching me what God gave to us so that we could be and continue to be custodians. That gift and that lens of listening to see has allowed me to achieve, I think, something pretty great. But then I'm biased. I really love the work that I've done, and I don't see it as work. I see it as a vocation. And I'm so proud that it is in a place that is connected so deeply to faith, the Anglican faith. This is my first piece of cultural knowledge that I brought to West Moreton. And what did that look like in practice? So what does listening to see look like when I arrived? It looked like having wonderful conversations and establishing relationships that I could work within. I listened to people. I heard what they wanted to know and why they needed to do this and how to make them and help them feel comfortable within the First Nations education space. I heard people asking to learn more. And it allowed me, through listening to see, to respond with strength and knowing. Now, in this way, I added a strong foundation to an already, I added a layer to already a strong foundation through the Anglican faith, the Anglican school, strengthening it with cultural knowledge that is so ancient, none of us can really put a time on it. See, the cultural knowledge my father gave me, it was given to him by his mother, who learnt it from her mother, who was given knowledge to her by her mother. You get the picture, right? It's old, it's ancient. It's something that as young children who are taken into their country and are given this as their first pedagogical step of learning. Listen to see. So it truly must have been something great, and it isn't what you take, but what you give back. Arriving at West Moreton provided me an opportunity to give back. So a little bit about that. That's one of those beautiful freshwater pools that we have on my country. Somewhere we would go to on a Sunday afternoon, screaming loudly as we run towards that hole and swim. It's beautiful, isn't it? And those symbols that I created there, that's the two pieces of cultural knowledge. And if you look carefully, you'll see it disappearing because it's so deep into the country. The talk I'm going to give you today is based on two ways. The education way, which is what our education ministers are designed to ensure that we deliver on. But I also want to talk to our humanity and our faith. And I'm going to give you some wise words given to us by our then Archbishop Philip Aspinall. We start with this one. We recognise the more than 60,000 years of continual connection by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as key part of the nation's history, present and future. Through education, we are committed to ensuring that all students learn about the diversity of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures and to seeing all young Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples thrive in their education and all facets of life. That is a commitment signed by every single education minister in 2019 of this country. At Mwate Education Declaration, it's called. It was signed in Alice Springs. We're due for a new one. These words became my professional why. especially when I'm talking to a room full of teachers. But I'm not talking to teachers today, I'm talking to clergy. So I want to give you my heart why. And these are the words spoken and written by Archbishop Philip Aspinall. Our diocesan family pursues the theme of being together. Over 2020 to 2022, we have committed ourselves to explore how we can be together in ways that acknowledge difference and disagreement, yet strengthen respect, communication, and ultimately love. Each of the 3 years has a sub-theme that approaches being together from a different angle. In 2020, our diocesan sub-theme was practicing peacemaking as we acknowledged difference and responded to conflict on gospel values. In 2021, we will be nurturing relationships by focusing on how in Christ we relate to and communicate with each other when we are not in conflict to build deep bonds founded on trust and strong foundations for times when inevitable differences will arise. In 2022, we will be embracing joy by celebrating the way differences help to make us whole and the importance of diversity in our unity. Beautiful words signed off by education ministers and spoken by the head of church. And I listened to see, and what I saw was a way to come together. And it really was not an easy task. How do you bring these words by the education ministers along with our church's vision in reconciliation in a way that would enhance the practice of a school, of a college? 3 colleges, executive leadership, 200 teachers, students, about 1,500. How do we bring a passion through that will change a way in which people wish to learn or wish to practice? I say easy. It was easy. The education goals, and why I want to tell you this is what then informed my next steps. The education goals out of that Mirakwate Education Declaration had 2 goals. And in those 2 goals were 11 interrelated actions. You cannot achieve goal 1 without goal 2, and you can't achieve goal 2 without goal 1. So that pretty much made up my mind as I can't do this without what the education ministers say, but I can't do it without what the Anglican faith or the Anglican Church contributes. To do this, I was inspired by the words in Action 10 of that Education Declaration. The education community needs to focus on imagining what is possible and promoting Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander leadership, knowledge and learning. It's not very clear, is it? I mean, imagine. That's the gift. Now, if imagining sends you into a tailspin and overwhelms you, I can say what it did for me was give me the world. I had an opportunity to really, in a space, bring together worlds, bring together ways, and do it to make it meaningful and authentic and to be able to be practiced. It has to outlive me. It can't be, oh, we need Phyllis to do this. It needs the words, we had the Dundiri approach, we can do this. That's the legacy, and that is what the gift of our nation needed, because we hadn't been getting it right. And no one knew how to do this. I just strode hard on and connected deeply into the cultural teachings that my parents gave me when I was a child, deep in an ancient rainforest. And this is what we imagined. Westmac imagined in being together, practicing peacemaking, nurturing relationships and embracing joy. See, when Archbishop Philip Aspinall gave us that being together, my words were, well, let's talk about how we've always been being together in this nation, in this country, in this place. And the Yagara people had a word for it, Dundiri, to come together. Now that tells us, language doesn't tell us who we are, it tells us where we are. And clearly, to have a word that specifically speaks to an action tells us that's important, right? That's important for the Yagara people, and it clearly was practiced. We are just down the road from where they would gather. So, Dundiri was born, and it was an approach. It was a way in which we could bring education to bring common purpose and shared joy, because that was the goal. It wasn't just for while Phyllis was there, and it wasn't a program. It was about adding a way or an essence in which to be of service and add value. So Dundiri, Ngari, Millinga, Ngambili. Come together, me, many, and everyone. So this is where we really started to lean into our strategy, our West Moreton Anglican's First Nations education strategy. The symbol designed there tells us the importance of teachers. So those two black symbols are the symbols for people, and one person facing another, staff or teacher to student. And behind this teacher are the three layers, the three sub-schools, and in each line is 8 dots. Because in the Australian curriculum, there are 8 learning areas that the children must be taught in. And that beautiful hue, West MAC, we have a beautiful stream of ochre that runs through our college. And you can feel the energy as you walk down, and this is what I love most, as you walk down to our heart. And our heart is the chapel. So that beautiful stream of ochre leads us down there. Indeed, in Yagara country, people would travel prior to colonisation. They would travel to Yagara country to trade on ochre, because ochre is a commodity. It's highly valued. And so the Dundiri approach is our dedicated response and commitment to our students' education. We had priorities, RISE, and it was strategic in the way we delivered these priorities. I knew, first of all, I had the work of raising the level of cultural understanding. So this is where we have a professional suite of professional learning opportunities. So I raised the knowledge of the staff because I couldn't do it by myself. I needed the team behind me. We then could look at how would we improve the curriculum. When we take our children into the classrooms, what is the language that we are using to educate them on the truth of our nation and its history? Not to destroy, but to show them in awe and wonder. Indeed, the first 3 years that I was at Westmac, before I launched Dundiri, the first year, which was built on building relationship, was let me show you the wonder. So I worked in the themes as well. Wonder, then the next year was wisdom, and then expand. So I was prepping it, layering the soil, preparing the soil, so that as these things could grow, Dundiri would take hold. And then strengthen the social emotional well-being of First Nations students. Because the education ministers put that out there. We wanted them to thrive. We wanted to talk about inclusion and diversity and equity. And equity in itself means that we have to have different approaches so that everyone gets a fair chance. And we understand and we acknowledge, right, that a lot of damage had been done and that intergenerational trauma that is passed down. As beautiful as my upbringing was, the words my father spoke to me in the rainforest, he also said, be small, don't be seen, so that you can fly under the radar. Never put your hand up in a classroom, because that means you'll be standing out, and we don't want to do that. That brings unwanted attention. And I thought that was just then. few years ago, we had the horror of a young boy coming home from school over in Western Australia, and a parent lost her child. He was in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. And another parent had interviewed on TV, said these exact same words. See, I told them to play small, don't be seen, don't stand out in any way. And this, if this is repeated today in a modern world, then our First Nations students need us. They need us to be strengthened and strong in a cultural understanding so we know how best to reach them with language that's going to help them thrive. And then all of this would lead to how we engage in reconciliation and in that practice. Get those first three right, reconciliation just becomes a part of the way we do things. It doesn't even have to be special attention. It's just, this is what we do here. And that certainly is the goal. With these 4 areas, one of the things that I've learnt, and one of the things, in walking with God, that we look to Scripture to guide us, and a purpose that He gives us. And I wanted to give a really strong purpose to all 4 that brings that together. And for that was, what we're here to do is raise knowledge to enhance education. So it didn't matter which one I was working in, it related to every single area. What are we doing here in this workshop? Well, we're raising knowledge to enhance the education. Why do we need to put it in the curriculum? To raise knowledge, to enhance the education. Oh, come on, Mrs. Marsh, I don't even want to be here to do this work. I don't want to learn about my culture. Hey, you need to raise knowledge to enhance your education so you're strengthened. And why do we need to celebrate reconciliation? To raise knowledge, to enhance the education. So regardless of the focus, the purpose is the same. Dare I say, it's all interconnected. These areas are servicing the same environment, West Mac, and with a community of approximately 200 or 300 staff, it's extremely important we were on the same page, extremely important we were using the same language. Raise knowledge to enhance the education, sharing that common purpose of learning in the shared joy of practice knowledge. So let me give you an introduction to Dundiri. First Nations people are really what we know when we look at paintings, for example. We know there's knowledge in the story. We know there's knowledge in the paintings. There's knowledge everywhere, and written into the landscapes, into our ceremonies and dance. Now, I'm no different. I put knowledge in the symbol. And when you see it, you cannot unsee it. I'm not going to talk about it now, but I want to see the end. I'm going to ask that question. Did you really listen to see that you could interpret the symbol for what it's providing? So where do you start? Dundiri is designed in a way to bring us together, allowing staff to feel empowered, safe and connected. So it begins with self, Ngati. And at this stage, it's about developing a new way of knowing. Here, we are learning to grow. And I need to be aware of who I am. So I took a deep dive with people as they explored who they are, what they represented, and what was their why. Why are you here? What puts your feet on the ground every morning to turn up in this place and make a difference? We then looked at many. And in this way, we are working in collaboration. Because once I've done the deep dive into me and I know me, I'm now ready to explore that with others. And I'm ready to be part of a team and collaborate. Through collaboration, we are enhancing our way of being, bringing a response at a deeper level. Well, indeed, that was what the challenge was for them. And then lastly, and that final level is Ngambili. And at this place, people are working together to establish new ways, a new practice with intelligence, with the practice of wisdom. Reaching this level is a way of doing. We are informed by our values and work together to build a place that informs us and others in a common purpose. So, oh, sorry, I forgot to press the button. I think my clicker died. What you'll see after that is another circle, green or in colour, and then all the many circles in the middle. The brilliance of this model, thank you, is how it moves back into itself. This symbol is not static, it moves. Indeed, it has to show its full story. So if I press the button to move it back into the middle circle, and it pops into the middle circle of Millen. See, I can only collaborate with others and when I'm at the centre of it, because who I am matters, right? And what I do tells the world of who I am. So in the centre of Millen, it then moves back into, and you're going to press it 4 or 5 times. It appears in every single person within your environment, because your environment is the culture. It's what sets the tone. One more time. And that's the story of Dundiri, how it moves back into itself. The outcome for this is interconnection, and how we receive from connecting to new knowledge, establishing and strengthening who we are. I want to tell you a second story. This one is the second piece of cultural knowledge. This is Yangur, be friendly and connect. This is my language from Mamu country. So, I want to tell you a story about a young girl. This young girl growing up started to get a little bit too big for her boots, was a bit judgmental, was looking at other people around her, avoiding them and putting themselves and elevating herself in a way that caused the view or the lens of her mother to focus in on her. Her behaviour becomes so bad that her mother said, "We need to do something about this." So she put the child in the car, not ready for that yet, put the child in the car and took her deep into the forest, found a beautiful waterhole, similar probably to the one that I showed you at the beginning. And around the waterhole, she asked her child, thank you, I've got to go back to that one, to draw a circle in the sand. She then instructed her child to draw a circle around the first circle. And then finally she asked, draw a third circle around the 3 of them, so that you had 3 circles. She said to the child, this first circle is you. It's easy to think that you can be alone and separate yourself, but there's always another circle around you. In this circle, that's your family. This is the people who are going to show up for you, who represent you, and who love you. This is your family. You're always surrounded by these people. The third circle that surrounds the family is the community. That's the ecosystem. And so everyone who is part of that community is part of that third circle. This is your ripple. That's your ripple on the world. So what you do, who you are, how you speak, how you act, and how you bring and show love has impact on your family. And what impacts your family impacts the community. How we live matters. That is the ripple of who you are. If you haven't guessed, that young girl was me. And here was in the stillness of the forest, I was given my second greatest teaching from my parents. Listen to see, be friendly and connect. And it wasn't over. So my mother asked me to repeat these 3 circles. And she asked me then, so she got me to repeat the circles. So now we had 2 lot in the sand. And then she asked me to draw a line, teaching me that what I know and who I am and what I do as a person is what I send out into the world. That's what connects me to any other person. And so one final time, my mother asked me to repeat it. Oh, sorry. She then told me that what I send out comes back. If I give respect, I receive respect. If I give love, I receive love. The lesson wasn't over. One final time, she's asked me to repeat the circles. This is the 2 lines that then connect others. What I give to someone, they pass on. And vice versa. This symbol is repeated infinitively. It goes over and over and over again. We've heard today that it is by no accident that we are here. We will all be impacting each other. We are all now connected in a way in this moment, in this time, and in this place. Building memories. That impact is what I give, I receive back. And as I grew older, I began to understand if I take from someone through words to destroy or hurt, my actions are hurting me. So what I send out comes back to me, and I don't want to destroy me, and so I only want to give. What I give is far more important than what I take. There is no place or thing on this earth that exists in isolation. We are all interconnected. So how does this knowledge come into practice at the work that I do at West Moreton? If reconciliation was a priority, and if not the most important part of the work that I was doing, then this symbol taught me and informed me a way in which I could apply a practice of interconnection through the school. Indeed, it formed us of our reconciliation the West Moreton way. What we do matters, and what we give is far more important than what we take. As a child, learning that symbol in the rainforest, to be able to give it back as a gift to a place that I've dearly come to love, I can teach that what we do matters, and how we do it informs the world of who we are. That is a cultural practice and knowledge that is so ancient. I mean, indeed, we find it in scriptures through the Bible. But we are talking about a practice that exceeds in length and time before these words were written. It is what the world's oldest, ancient, practicing, continuing culture in the world still practices today. So I may not be living in the rainforest, but what has been handed down is still practiced today and has been introduced into a workplace in a way of teaching of people of interconnection, junior, middle, senior, flowing up and flowing down. The 3 lines actually are representative of the 3 values of West Moreton: faith, knowledge, service. And this, as we prepare to launch our reconciliation commitment, it was important for me that in imagining what we could be, in how we came together, in practicing peacemaking, nurturing relationships, and embracing joy, to bring and participate in a common purpose to share joy. The children, the students, I didn't do any of this. I just made sure all the elements were there. The students selected 3 actions. And then from those 3 actions, we connected them to our wider community, or to something bigger than our little school or college, to the wider community of the church. So Brave Ally directly connects to the mark of Mission 7, to live as one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. Caring for country connected us to the mark of Mission 5, strive to safeguard the integrity of creation and sustain and renew the life of earth. And reconciliation connected us to that mark of Mission 4, seek to transform unjust structures of society, to challenge violence of every kind and pursue peace and reconciliation. Why? Because what the good work the church does needs to connect and flow and show through the children that are learning within their schools. So what we do matters, and how we do it informs the world of who we are. We are not disconnected, and that is why it was important to me to do so with steps we take to lead us back to the foundation of our faith and the marks of mission. We are all connected. Our scripture, which was really important to me, so I asked our lovely chaplain, Reverend Jane, to please share with me which one that she would like, so that she could speak to it from where she stood. And she shared Colossians 3:12-15. I'll give you some time to read that. So now we have a connection back to the Word of God. Our reconciliation scripture is something that we can look to guide us and connect us in our faith and learning to be like Christ. That is the gift that is deserving of every student at West Mac and to every staff member. We are chosen, we are called to strengthen our relationships and choose love, for this is what will bind us. And with the peace of Christ in our hearts, we share common purpose, sharing joy. That is a rollout. That's the final phase. That's Dundee approach. That's where it's not going to end there. But that's where we know we now have solid ground. Because as a group, as a community, we listened to see, and we did so through building connections. I just want to show you the levels of Dundee and what that looks like. Because I said knowledge is in the story, right? And you build knowledge. It doesn't just happen. So the first level is awareness, where we're doing cultural awareness, and we're really doing that deep dive into self. How do we move to that second level? We do that through Ngari. We've got to go through exploring who we are and what we stand for, because who we are matters. To move to this third level of intelligence, we have to have a responsive position. And then to move to Dundee, we have to be moving together, using language that connects us. In that first level of awareness, we're raising our knowledge. In the second stage, we're improving knowledge. In the third, we're strengthening knowledge. And in that fourth, we're engaging in knowledge. Listen to see. Be friendly, connect. All is connected. It isn't what you take, it's what you give back. Dundee. Now, I did say, I challenged you at the beginning. What did you see? Did you listen to see? Can anyone tell me the secret of that symbol? And it's right in front of your face. I will tell you that. So that's First Nations knowledge. It wasn't about the symbol just moving. What are we building? And when we look at, I love nature. My favourite place at West Mac is a place I affectionately call the Gums, because when I go to stand into, it's a circle of trees made up of diverse gums. They're not all the same eucalypt. And when I stand up underneath them, I see all the branches and the leaves coming together. Do you want me to tell you the secret? Or is anyone ready to have a go? Yeah? Very close. The Dundiri symbol is a tree. Ngari, you start with a seed. But how do you grow? You need strong words, right? You need a strength in your trunk so that your branches can grow out. And so when I stand up underneath those gums and that third circle, I'm seeing all of these leaves and branches coming together. So you all just have been given a secret that everybody at West Moreton, no one has been able to achieve that level. And you know what I call that? Dundiri knowledge holders. You're welcome. Thank you.